This is winter gardening update number 2. If you saw my first update, you may remember how pleased I was at the growth of my tomato plants. Well, earlier this week we had several days when the temperature was above 50 degrees, and I decided one of those days that a little bit of natural sunlight might do my tomatoes some good. So I placed them outside by the garage. Unfortunately, while I was going back and forth to the garage, I knocked the pot over. Consequently, I had to take them out and repot them, and as you can see now, they're a lot more wilted and sick looking. I was looking earlier to see if there was any new growth at all, and I noticed there are 4 little tomatoes on the one plant, only one of which is bigger than the lead of a pencil tip. However, I think what happened was I just disturbed the roots, so I'll just have to wait for the roots to reestablish themselves, and I think everything will eventually be fine. However, I probably cost myself a week or 2 of growth with that unfortunate accident. Other than that, as you can probably see here, my basil is still doing quite well. It's hard to see with all this bright lights. I put a second grow light on them because I'm going to need it eventually, and in the meantime, while I don't need it for something else, the basil is getting a little bit of extra attention. And here you can see these are my green onions. They seem to be doing quite well. And I think they're shallow enough rooted that I can leave them in that container, although I may try sticking a few in another dish just to see how they do. And here I have some green onions that are store-bought, and I cut off the tops and stuck them in water. And as you can see, they've regrown their tops. So I think I will cut them off one more time and then stick them in the ground and see how they do. Next to them, you can see there are my potatoes that are starting to sprout. And I'm afraid I may have started them a little bit too early because it'll be about 3 months before I can really put them in a container. So I'm thinking that my choices are to restart them in about a month or 6 weeks, to put them in a container and drag it in and out of the house every night for a month or 2, or possibly stick them in my cold frame and see if they might survive in the cold frame. I'm going to let them grow a little further, and at some point in the next month or so I'll have to make a decision what I'm going to do with them. And finally, as you can see here, I have some lettuce that I started in one of the containers that I showed in my last video, and it's looking good, and I've got some big pots prepared, so I'll be able to transplant that as soon as it gets a little bigger. So with the exception of my misfortunate accident with the tomatoes, I'm real pleased about everything it's doing so far.